Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg. I'm playing a little Doom with Project Brutality. It's possible that's what I played last week. I don't know. I've really been into Doom this week. I don't know. It's kind of simple, mindless fun over and over. It's also really nice with Archipelago. Randomizing everything just makes it fun. Sort of similarly why I really got into Super Metroid. And this is just a lot bloodier. But it's good, clean fun. Yeah. On my first week of my hiatus, which has been very nice, really enjoyable stuff. Oh shit, yeah, I do have to upload a video tonight. Thanks for reminding me. Been putting that off. I think it's one of the admonition ones. The abatement one, I think, is the multi-parter. Anyways, right, this week on this channel, then, we had the usual stuff of Dominion 6 and solo RPGs, and I think we finished up Wizardry a little while back, so it's been Cataclysm. I have a handful of videos for Cataclysm with Zedra Evolved, which was, well, it was something. I'll let it speak for itself. You can watch that. And that's kind of it. Probably. Pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I haven't really been recording much. Some solo RPG stuff. And some... I started recording a point-and-click adventure game called The Drifter, which is really cool so far. So hopefully I'll have that to upload soon enough. But yeah, so much solo RPG stuff to upload. That's getting to the point of being like the Minions, or just they'll never end, they'll never stop uploading it. I said to Lego that Project Brutality is like what parents thought Doom was like back in 1994, 93. Yeah, so a lot of solo RPG stuff, a lot of axe stuff, but I am getting, you know, I'm getting regular comments on all my axe stuff and all my, or not my axe stuff, my solo RPG stuff and my Dominion stuff. So those are like just little niches of nerdery. I have, you know, a little bit of a following. The problem is, of course, like, I'm not very good at Dominions. And I'm not very good at solo RPGs. So, and the other thing is, like, I don't make videos for people to watch. You know, I don't do any editing. And I'm pretty unapologetic about just like, yep, I'm just playing and I happen to record it. Whereas the Exploring series, it's like, this is my job. This is I care about people watching this. I need people to watch this. Please enjoy it. So, but, you know, it's alright. Alright. As long as people are watching and enjoying it, then it's all good. Even if they're not watching it, it's still all good. 'Cause I'll keep doing it. I'll do it again. Right. So that's pretty much what's gonna be happening forever. Dominions, solo RPGs, Cataclysm, and then hopefully this Drifter game. I'd like to finish recording before I start uploading it. The Deagle, baby. And Lego and I are, you know, we've been doing plenty of Archipelago. That's never going to change. I think, really, we're mostly an Archipelago stream at this point. That's what we are. It's just kind of the perfect fit for us. We both get to play games that we both enjoy. You know, we enjoy individually. But it's still like a cooperative experience. We get to get checks for each other, get upgrades for each other. You know, there's things to talk about with our games, but it's also kind of chill. It's not really competitive. It's cooperative and all that stuff. And we can switch games up from time to time. He doesn't always do StarCraft. I don't always do Super Metroid. Yeah, it's just kind of the perfect fit. But we are trying now to include some RPG stuff every week. Like, for at least a couple hours every Wednesday, we want to do some RPG stuff. So, that's a good little mix-up. He talked about wanting to do... He watched a video, I guess, on some ROM hacks, and he thought it would be interesting sometime to just do... like, just a couple ROM hacks. Like, we each pick a ROM hack of our choice. Because he watched Super Metroid 1, and he thought I would really like. I have actually played a little bit of it, but yeah, it could be fun to just do a stream of a few random ROM hacks. Non-Archipelago or anything. But we'll see. We'll see. It's just there's not many, like, actual co-op games that we are interested in. Except for, like, Split Fiction or, Way Out, It Takes Two. Those are just such high quality that I didn't mind. But most of the time, it's like, I don't really want to do just a co-op game because... I don't like being brought down to Lego's level. That's why Archipelago is a pretty good fit, because it's like, it's sort of co-op, but we're not like strictly beholden. We're not playing on like the same screen or something. So it just works. It just worked. Yeah, that's about it. Speaking of cooperative play, I ran a session this week for my family of the Mothership RPG. I talked about this last week. I figured it was going to be a 1 or a 2 shot, and last week was 1 session, so this should be the 2 shot here, and it was. It was. So we picked things up. They were in Greta Base in the middle of a storm. The place is abandoned, but they had encountered an alien. And then we finished last time as my nephew, playing an android, decided to just go up and poke the clearly, obviously alien creature thing in the butt, which it then turned around and ripped him to shreds. So that was a good note to leave off on. And so we picked things up right at in the moment. You know, they were fleeing through the vent from this alien, and the alien chased them through the facility a bit. I was pretty generous. I didn't really have them roll speed checks or anything. I just was like, okay, I'm gonna see where they go. This thing's hot on their tail. So where are they gonna go? They ended up going to the front to the airlock, and they tried to slam the airlock shut before the alien could break in. Even if I was being generous and the airlock just, like, slammed down. Still pretty tricky to do. But I gave them a speed check. I was generous. They failed, so they had to they were like trying to fight off the alien in melee, which isn't a super great solution. But none of them died. They eventually, like, blind sidekicked the alien out of the airlock and closed it. I'm like, okay, you hear just, like, pounding and scratching on the other side. Well, what do? And they decided to just say, fuck this base, and they just left and went to, like, the next location. Like, okay, sure. It's like a kilometer away during the night, during a storm, on foot, through the jungle. Sure. Now, a harsher DM would probably have just killed them all right there. But I wanted to get to the second part, I guess, so I let them have it. They trekked across, and I wanted to run this little sequence that they had in the module, where if the players make a lot of noise or get surrounded by Karks or something, Marines ride out on ATVs. And it says in the module that they ride out on their ATVs blaring the Star-Spangled Banner in order to, like, distract the aliens. And I said, fuck that. Ain't no way I'm playing the Star-Spangled Banner. So, you know, I was narrating it, and I was like, yep, you suddenly hear, you know, you see the aliens kind of moving through the trees, surrounding you, and then suddenly you hear blaring through the over the wind and the rain and the storm, blaring through the trees, you hear this. And then I started to play The Trooper by Iron Maiden. Which, of course, was the song of choice in the World War Z book. It was also recently used in the finale of Stranger Things, which was pretty cool, too. But it felt the most appropriate. It was pretty badass. And so the Marines sort of distracted all the aliens away and then picked up the player characters and drove them to the base. And at the base, they get presented with this sort of dilemma. There's essentially three different parties at the base, and they each want to do a different thing. There's a group of Marines that really want to just evacuate. They want to get to the communications tower and get it back online in order to in order to contact the drop ship so they can all evacuate. Then there's a group led by a different Marine that doesn't want to leave any Marines behind. And they recently sent some Marines down into the reactor in order to prepare it for the flooding. Otherwise, they're all going to lose power. And they went dark. They haven't been heard from. So she wants to lead a team to go rescue them and get the reactor protected. Then there's a third group led by the lead scientist that wants to head down to the lab in order to get her research. She really needs her research, and that way she can figure out a weakness for the aliens, because right now they're really well protected. It's really hard to kill them. And so if she can get research, she can maybe synthesize a chemical solution or something to the alien. So the 3 different options, and clearly time is running very short. Like, it's pretty well emphasized that the players are going to have to sacrifice something depending on who they side with, you know? And the characters, the NPCs kind of make it clear that if their plan doesn't get chosen by the player characters, they're going to probably attempt something on their own. Ow! It's a bad time to reload. So the module sort of emphasizes that, like, the players are going to be possibly likely to side with the Marine that just wants to get the dropship here to evacuate. So it should be emphasized that this man is very cowardly and he's very panicked, and he's trying to, you know, take the coward's way out. So I did that. You know, that's how I played him. Just like, he's just like, this is a goddamn tragedy and everything, but we got to get the fuck out of here. This planet's fucked. And my mom's just like, yeah, exactly. Let's get the dropship. It's like, yeah, a couple of them definitely started to agree with him despite that. They're just like, fuck this planet. And it's like, it's not a wrong answer. I mean, it is failing the mission for sure. But I think none of them cared about the mission. And so it's like, it's just a horror game, whether it's Mothership or Call of Cthulhu or whatever. It really depends on buy-in from the players. They all have to be bought into the fact that it's a horror game that they're playing. And they all have to be buying into the fact that I'm playing these characters that are desperate. They need this money. Basically, if they don't get money, they're dead anyways. So they're gonna try to finish the mission. Like, that's how players need to buy in. Because otherwise, it's like, why are you signing up for this? Like, it was pretty obvious from the mission briefing. You're going to a planet where they were studying alien species, and suddenly the planet went dark. You know, no communication. It's like, obviously, really bad shit went down with aliens. So you're signing up for this mission knowing that, like, yeah, I'm probably gonna fucking die, but if I don't, I can pay my bills this month. Anyways, Lego ended up convincing them of, like... Basically, they were like, okay, you go and get the tower online. And we'll send one of the grunts with you. That they, you know, they had 2 grunts with them, Marines. Okay, we'll send one of our grunts with you. And you go get the tower online. He's like, alright, fucking hell yeah. And it's like, I don't know why they didn't realize that that's basically, they're sending them to their deaths. Maybe they thought there's just like a percentage chance or something that they would succeed. And if they send along one of their grunts with them, maybe that increases the chance or something. I didn't just outright say that like, hey, if he goes alone, if he goes without you guys, he's dead. It's over. I didn't really say that because that didn't seem like something that I should say. That doesn't seem like something characters would be cognizant of. What happened to the fucking 3 revenants that were here? So they sent them. Of course, they died. Although the characters never knew that because they died as well in the meantime. But anyways. So they decided to go with the scientist down to the lab. They figure, oh, we can find a weakness. That's good. That'll be to our advantage. So they go down with the scientist to the lab. And they find that her key card to the lab has been revoked. It's been changed. So she can't get into the lab. Now, the correct response in that case would have been like, okay, well, can we hack it? Or can we get a crowbar and wedge it open or something? That was sort of the response I was expecting. That's not what they said. What they said was, are there any vents around that lead in there? And there was an event that led into the lab, but there was a vent that led into the cryo chamber. The cryo vault, I'm sorry. Yeah, the cryo vault. Where they keep, like, all the specimens and stuff. So they get into the vents, and then I remembered that the scientist is supposed to say that she wants to go into the vault herself and tells the players that she doesn't want them to go in because they were going to contaminate stuff in there. So I had her say that while they're in the vent. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to have to go in by myself. This immediately set off all sorts of red flags in their head that she's got to be evil. Which is funny because she isn't really evil at all. But they let her go in there, and they then heard like some shuffling around, and then they heard a door open and close, and then they didn't see her again. And so they were like, yep, she's evil. She ditched us. She's horrible. The funny thing was, like, she just went through the door. She just wasn't very good at communicating. Because she's a scientist. None of them are good at communicating except for Bill Nye. Yeah, so she went through a door and then went through another door and then another door in order to get to the lab so that she could start processing start doing her research and analyzing her research and stuff. It says in the module she needs 1d5 hours to do so. And I was like, yeah, she just kind of got caught up in her work. I didn't say it, but I said this afterwards, but she got caught up in her work. And had they just gone back to the door that they tried to get open into the lab and, like, knocked, she would have just opened it. You know? But she just kind of got distracted. Lego decided to go into the cryo vault in order to try to hack the door there to get into where she was. His character was a Marine. not much of a hacker. Their hacker, the guy that specialized in computers and hacking, was the android who went and poked the alien in the butt earlier on. So, yeah, brilliant. All around fucking brilliant stuff. So he failed his hack. Causing alarms to go off. And that causes an alien to appear in the mechanical room nearby where the other characters were. They never went into the vent. So they start hearing alarms going off and everything. So they freak out, and I tell them, you know, ask them what do they do, and they decide to run back to the elevator and just go up. And I'm like, okay. So they leave Lego behind. And this is at this point I had to throw him a slight bit of a bone. So I was like, okay, well, most characters at this point would probably say, once they get to the top, I send the lift back down. You know? So I had to throw them that little bit of a bone so that Lego wasn't completely fucked. And my mom's like, well, oh yeah, of course. And it's like, no, of course. There are no of courses. Of courses are for horses. You have to tell your DM shit, otherwise it doesn't happen. I mean, we make some assumptions, but I try not to make too many things about what the characters do. But anyways, they send the lift back down. Lego, like, sneaks out, and he gets into a sprint race between him and the alien. And it's pretty close. I think he gets nipped a bit. I think he actually loses some flesh. Takes a wound, I think, from the alien. But he gets up the elevator and out. Oh, I also should have mentioned that one of the ATVs that they had was busted and needed repairs. So my nephew playing, who lost his character, my aunt couldn't make it, so he decided to play her character. She was kind of a mechanic. So he decides he's going to spend time to fix the ATV while the others go down to the lab. And I was like, this is when they never split up. It felt almost appropriate, I suppose. All this time across, like, D&D, fantasy games, all that, they never split the party ever. They always travel as one homogeneous blob. They finally decide for the first time to split up, and it's in the horror game. So, somehow it just felt appropriate, I guess. So he sits there for like 2 hours fixing the ATV while they're running for their lives from aliens. So then I let him play the other Marine grunt while he was fixing the ATV. So as they get back up there and start talking, the module says that after they do the first mission, which technically they failed the first mission, but sure. After they attempt one of the three things, if they didn't protect the reactor, the power goes out. So the whole place goes into darkness. So now they're going to attempt the reactor. My mom still wants to leave and get the hell out of there, but Lego's like, you know, fuck it, we're going to go with the Marines. We're going to go rescue our boys. So they they go down there. I give them the option. They can either go down the staircase, which unfortunately, the staircase is located past the mechanical area where he just ran from the alien. So he doesn't like that option. So the other option is to go rappel straight down the reactor chimney. It's like a 60-meter drop down the chimney. Thankfully, she has hazmat suits for all of them. Otherwise, they'd be real fucked. So they opt for that option. They start descending down, and throughout the reactor chimney, there's a bunch of these little, like, cocoons all along the walls. So they try to avoid that, and they come across this hatch, like, partway down. A hatch in the side of the wall. And they decide that, you know, they want to go through it and explore. So they go in and they go to, like, the cooling chamber or whatever. There's water, like, flowing and flooding all around. It's almost up to this narrow walkway. And they see an alien swimming in the water. And so they immediately are like, fuck that, close the door. And I'm like, yep, that sounds like it sounds like my players. Fuck that, close the door. Their solution to everything. When in doubt, fuck that, close the door. And then leave. And then immediately leave and go find a different dungeon. So you can walk into that one, open a door, say fuck that, and close the door. That's how they play. So Lego was like, fine, yeah. And I said that in order to encourage them somewhat, or maybe disincentivize them further, I had the Marine that they were with, the one that wanted to, you know, to go rescue her fellow Marines. I had her charge forward across the walkway, just like blindly firing her rifle at the alien in the water. And so Lego's like, fuck it, yeah, I'm gonna follow her, and I'm shooting my revolver at the alien in the water. So Lego decided to follow the Marine. The others decided to close the door and say, fuck that. But they didn't go back up. They continued rappelling down the reactor chimney. It's like, okay. Well, they split the party again, interestingly enough. So Lego and the Marine ended up coming to this, they ended up getting to the stairwell. The stairwell, however, was now very flooded. And it was basically a 40-second swim underwater, well, obviously, in the dark, in hazmat suits. And I was like, that sounds tricky. I think that deserves some sort of roll. So I had it be a body save. And I think Lego had like a 40% chance of success. He failed, and I was like, yeah, you're dead. Maybe normally I wouldn't have been as harsh, but he had been complaining a lot throughout the whole session about how just doomed they were and it was over. So I was like, yeah, this probably just could end. Especially because right before that, the other two were rappelling down the chimney. And I had them do a roll to see if they knocked into any of the cocoons. Because I had mentioned that past the hatch, further down, there were a lot more cocoons. Like, they were kind of everywhere. To sort of give, like, a little bit of a hint that if you go this way, you know, it's going to be tricky to avoid touching them. So they kept going. And I was like, okay, you know, roll. I couldn't really figure out what kind of roll it should be. I said speed, but maybe it should have been a body save. In order to avoid touching a cocoon. And one of them failed. My nephew failed, I believe. So it's classic sort of alien kind of shit. They bump into the cocoon, and it starts like cracking open. And this little baby carcinid comes out. This little alien comes out with like tentacles and stuff. You know, it looks like a miniature version of the aliens that they've been running from. And I'm like, okay, what do you do? My nephew wants to use his laser cutter. Now, a laser cutter in Mothership is a melee weapon that's heavy, so it has the heavy trait. It does 1d100 damage, which is a hell of a lot, as you can imagine. But it has to be reloaded between each use. So you have to spend a round, like, kind of reloading it after each time you use it. And this really pissed off my nephew and Lego of how dumb and unrealistic this was, and this fucking sci-fi future universe where they have a laser cutter that you have to recharge after every time you use it, instead of it having a goddamn battery. They just, you know, were ranting about this thing. And it's like, yeah, that's balance. It does 1d100 damage. And Lego hates balance because he hates anything that doesn't make him powerful or make the game easier, which is usually what balance is for. So they thought this was just so stupid and dumb, and they hated it. Like, I guess I could have made it do like 1d50 damage every round, I suppose. But there's no real capitulating to these type of people, because as soon as anything else inconveniences them, in the great scapegoat of balance, they're just gonna rant and rave about that. So, I mean, assuming I said, okay, you can use it every round for 1d50, and then they use it and they hit and they roll like a 12, they'll be like, this is so stupid, this is ridiculous. Why can't it be like 1d20 plus 30 or something? This is so stupid. So there's really no capitulating to these kind of people. You give them an inch, they'll take a mile kind of thing. Not even really. You give them an inch and they'll complain about what a stupid fucking measurement an inch is. So, but anyways, so it didn't even matter about the laser cutter because it was a heavy tool and he was climbing down a rope. He was rappelling down a rope. You just couldn't really finagle to swing this thing, while on the rope. He at least accepted that argument. So I looked to my mom and said, what do you do? And she says, the dumbest thing that I think any character has probably ever done in a game of Mothership, or perhaps in any RPG ever. I don't know what they're going on about. What the hell, man? Probably the dumbest thing any RPG character has ever said. God, I broke something. It was breaking out over there. She says, I give it a hug. I definitely broke something. There's like, I'm hearing like phantom enemies just crying out. Horrible. Yes, so she gives the baby alien a hug. Because she believed that she might imprint on it as its mother. And then it would be friendly to her and maybe help them out. And I said, okay. And I said, I'm going to skip the combat roll. Because normally it would have to succeed on a combat roll. But I was like, you're embracing it with your defenses down. So it's just going to attack. And I rolled really high on the damage. So yeah, it's ripped her throat out in front of their eyes. So then my nephew decided to go back through the hatch that Lego had gone through. And he started to run down the walkway. But now the alien had made it up onto the walkway. So he's like, okay, I jump in the water. And I just read very simply from the module. Where it says, anyone that falls into the water drowns. That's all it says. No check, just you drown. And I like that it says anyone who falls into the water. Under the assumption that you would only go in the water if you fell into it. No one would actually be dumb enough to try to swim in that water. That would be crazy. It's this giant swirling pool of death inside of a nuclear reactor. No, they have never met my players. That's for sure. So, yeah, that is how our mothership adventure came to a close. Yeah. Needless to say, I don't think we'll be doing Mothership again anytime soon. I think horror and sci-fi, well, horror really was just not a good fit for this crew. Yeah, it's like, after all I said to them at the start about, like, genre savviness and knowing that you're in a horror movie and all that sort of stuff, my mom loses her character's life by hugging the baby alien. I said to her afterwards, like, can you ever imagine in any horror movie a character hugging a baby alien and it working out for them? And it's not like she's completely unfamiliar with horror or anything. Like, she just recently watched all of Alien Earth. And she just recently watched Aliens for the first time, and she really liked it. I was like, can you imagine watching Aliens and a character hugs one of the baby xenomorphs, and it just becomes their friend and goes on wacky adventures with them? That's genre savviness that I'm talking about. So yeah, we came to a close there. Now it's not to say I'll never run Mothership again, but it'll just be for a different crowd if I ever do. Because I think, like, a crowd that, a group that really buys into the whole thing and is like, yes, we're in a fucking horror movie, that's what we want. We don't mind if we die, but we're going to try to be smart about it and win. That would be ideal. We don't mind if we die, but we want to be smart about it and win. That's what I'd want a DM for. I also wouldn't be opposed to running a different sci-fi game for them, because I think they mostly get hung up on the horror aspect. If it was a more pulpy sort of action-packed, you know, like I don't know, Firefly or something like that kind of sci-fi game, I think they probably would enjoy a good bit of it, because my mom loves sci-fi. I think that's her favorite genre. Lego really likes sci-fi. Spends a lot of time watching various sci-fi shows like Star Trek and stuff. My aunt doesn't care about anything one way or the other anyways. And my nephew, I'm not really sure what he likes or not, but he probably likes guns and stuff, as long as it's logical and makes sense. This is so stupid. So, Lego and I were talking about that last night on stream, in case you missed it. We were talking about various sci-fi games and stuff, and sci-fi genres, and what sort of sci-fi campaign he would be interested in playing in for me to run if I was going to run a sci-fi game. And we kind of eventually settled on Star Wars, actually. Of he would really probably be interested in playing in a Star Wars game. And I'm not really into Star Wars. Like, not really at all that much into Star Wars. But I could see running a Star Wars game for them as being not that bad of an idea. Just because I do like sci-fi a decent amount. I like sci-fi. And Star Wars has the benefit of being pretty, like, kind of heroic. You know, like, there's light and dark side. It's very clear-cut most of the time. If you're running it pretty in a basic way, I suppose. It's pretty clear-cut, light side, dark side. And it's also pretty familiar. Like, almost everybody knows the basics of Star Wars. It's pretty ubiquitous. I don't really have to explain what a Jedi is. If I mention, oh yeah, he's like Han Solo, it's like, they know who that is. Or, well, beyond that, okay, it gets a little murkier, I guess, but... Why can't I use a grenade? Okay, apparently I can't use a grenade. Okay. If I mention Tatooine, a couple people might know what I mean. A couple people have no clue. But it's mostly pretty familiar. And then the rest is all just kind of like, yeah, it's sci-fi. We get it. The only problem with sci-fi, or maybe Star Wars specifically, is like adventures. I'm not sure how many published Star Wars adventures there are out there compared to just like people running their own campaigns. But there must be, right? Like, didn't Fantasy Flight or something like that do Star Wars for a little while? There must be some published adventures. I don't know how many published campaigns there are or anything, but must be some material. That's the big reason why I keep doing fantasy and OSR and stuff, is just, there's so many pre-published modules and things that I can just throw out there, and I don't have to think about too much of coming up with my own plot lines. And I don't know if I'd really want to do that at all for Star Wars. But for generic sci-fi, there is a decent amount. You know, like Traveler and stuff like that. Decent amount of modules that I could adapt. I don't know. We'll see. That's not going to be for a while, though, because the next campaign we're doing is Shadow Dark. Big, nice, open hex crawl with some fun plot ideas. got that all prepped for this week to start. And I'm sure I'll tell you all about it. Yeah, that's about it. So, more Dominions, more solo RPGs, more Cataclysm, hopefully into the Drifter, more Two Brothers Play with Archipelago and some duo Shadow Dark stuff. And over on the Exploring series, a combined video for Achromatic Abatement. No, Existential Abatement, whatever that one was. The one with abatement, I don't remember what it's called. Existential Abatement or something, I don't know. I have to put that together right now, so I will do that. My name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg, and I'll see you fine folks next week.